Ode to the West Wind by P.B. Shelley. In this video, we are going to do the analysis of Canto 1. O wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being, thou from whose unseen presence the leaves dead are driven like ghosts from an enchanter fleeing. In the opening stanza of Ode to the West Wind, the speaker appeals to the wild west wind. The use of capital letters for west and wind immediately suggests that he is speaking to the wind as though it were a person. He calls the wind the breath of autumn's being, thereby further personifying the wind and giving it the human quality of having breath. He describes the wind as having unseen presence, which makes it seem as though he views the wind as a sort of god or spiritual being. The last line of this stanza specifically refers to the wind as a spiritual being that drives away death and ghosts. Yellow and black and pale and hectic red, pestilence stricken multitudes, O thou who chariotest to their dark wintry bed. This stanza of Ode to the West Wind describes the dead autumn leaves. They are now they are not described as colorful and beautiful, but rather as a symbol of death and even disease. The speaker describes the deathly colors yellow, black, and pale. Even hectic red reminds one of blood and sickness. He describes the dead and dying leaves as pestilence stricken multitudes. This is not a peaceful nor beautiful description of the fall leaves. Rather, the speaker seems to see the fall leaves as a symbol of the dead, the sick, and the dying. The wind then comes along like a chariot and carries the leaves to the dark wintry bed, which is clearly a symbol of a grave. The winged seeds where they lie cold and low, each like a corpse within its grave, until thine azure sister of the spring shall blow. The speaker continues the metaphor of the leaves as the dead by explaining that the wind carries them and winged seeds to their graves, where they lie cold and low. He then uses a simile to compare each leaf to a corpse within its grave. But then, partway through the second line, a shift occurs. The speaker says that each is like a corpse until the wind comes through, taking away the dead but bringing new life. The use of the word azure or blue to describe the wind is in sharp contrast to the colors used to describe the leaves. Her clarion over the dreaming earth and fill, driving sweet buds like flocks to feed in air, with living hues and odors plain and hill. With this stanza of Ode to the West Wind, the speaker describes the wind as something which drives away death, burying the dead, and bringing new life. It brings living hues and odors which are filled with new life. Wild spirit which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, here, oh here. Here the speaker again appeals to the wind, calling it a wild spirit and viewing it as a spiritual being who destroys and yet also preserves life. He is asking the spirit to hear his pleas. He has not yet made a specific request of the wind, but it is clear that he views it as a powerful spiritual being that can hear him.